Hey, good morning, Jacques. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. I'm talking to Garth Brooks.
Entering his second year as the LSU head football coach.
It was the only way I could get a foot in the door.
Joined by the icon, Kim Mulkey. Hey, Coach, great to see you.
All right, I believe this is the third annual Jacques Talk with the great Bob Starkey. We're in his office. Coach, thanks for hosting me today.
Glad to have you, brother, always.
Good to see you. Exciting time of the year, right? I don't want to say it's the time that defines your season, but you look at a year. I say 2 years ago they won the national title. Last year you made the Elite Eight. It's kind of what I remember anyway.
Well, it's kind of the final exam for the entire course of the year. So it's a time to see what you've learned and how you've developed and how you've grown, and it really is. I think the first week of practice is really exciting, and then March is really exciting, and it'll be exciting to see where we go.
And in your sport more than any other, I feel like your calendar, it gets choppy. You've got Thanksgiving, then you have the Christmas holiday, then you have New Year's, and you have a lot of things. I feel like baseball, they just seem to take off and go, and so you maneuver through that, and then you maneuver through the grind of the SEC. And Coach Mulkey always talks about by February, March, everyone's kind of tired and spent, but now you get that second wind.
Well, the thing with collegiate basketball is the calendar year runs through the fall and again in the spring, where most sports are either in the fall or in the spring. We start November and we go all the way through. So while a lot of teams or families are spending time with Thanksgiving, we're usually somewhere playing in a tournament. They get a couple days off for Christmas. We practice on New Year's. They miss their spring break. All those holidays that a normal student get, a college basketball player doesn't. So it does become a grind, and there's an art to it, and Kim's the best at knowing when to loosen the reins at practice, make sure practice is enjoyable, make sure we're not going too hard, keeping them fresh. Well, you have to. Right now, the most important thing is to have fresh minds and fresh legs. And of course, you got to practice, you got to prepare, but I think probably more teams fail this time of the year from over-preparation and under-preparation.
Well, Flau'jae, you held her out of the SEC tournament, understandably so. Nissa kind of re-aggravated an injury the other day against Texas. You feel good about those two going into the NCAA tournament? Yeah,
absolutely feel great. And I love the fact that the SEC tournament is played early enough to where we actually have 2 full weeks before we take the court again. So from the time we've got back, they've been with Amanda Barbie and our team doctors and student trainers going through rehab, and they're going to be in great shape.
Just real quick on Morrow. I mean, you've coached a lot of special players, but her relentlessness, the motor never stops, right? She only knows one speed, and that's 110%. One of only 2 players in the history of this game to have 100 double-doubles, right?
You never get tired of talking about Nissa Morrow. I tell people this all the time. They want to know what she's like. And I said, well, if you come and watch practice, you see the exact same energy, the relentlessness, the competitive fire that you see. Again, the game and the practice is no different for Nissa. She just doesn't know any other way. I love that she comes from a set of parents that were coaches. You can see that in her game and her approach and her preparation, and you only get to coach players like that every so often.
Yeah, and what you just said, players that are brought up by coaches. Yeah. Like I just went and visited the New Orleans Saints. They had a chance to let us meet their new staff and talking to Doug Nussmeier, Garrett's dad. And there's something to be said about they don't whine and complain as much, right? They don't get caught up in the social media as much. They're not as needy. They're more humble. All those things you feel are kind of apply?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. They've been through it. There's not a parent at home telling them how bad the coaching is.
That's a pastime these days, right?
It sure is.
We need more referees and we need more coaches, and both of which people are like, you know what? I think I'll do something else. It's a tough thing out there. But yeah, Nissa the beast, right? And just where she's from, right? That Chicago kind of edge, that toughness. I think she said that she played pickup games on the playground against guys and stuff. So,
well, she comes from a basketball city.
Yeah.
I mean, that basketball is really important to that community. The entire city of Chicago has great high school basketball, and it's one of those rare places where you can still go find people that play outdoors. We talk about all the time, we grew up on outdoor courts. Now, you got this generation, they need to be in an air-conditioned gym before they play. Well, Nice came up playing on that hot asphalt in Chi-Town, and with that comes a little bit of toughness. As you play with guys, she also, because of some injuries and stuff, had the game taken away from her a little bit, and that gave her perspective, and all of that has accumulated into making her the kind of player that she is.
Hot asphalt in Chicago, that's like 2 months out of the year, right?
I don't know about that, but I promise you she found it.
I went to Chicago once. The Saints played the NFC Championship game in 2006, and I said I never wanted to go back. It was 15 degrees every day. I was like, the people weren't all that friendly. Maybe I just were running into the right people. I don't know.
And the wind off the lakes.
Yes.
15 degrees was probably feel like about 10 below.
Yeah, it was brutal. Saints came up short that day too. Couldn't quite make it to the Super Bowl. Lost to the Bears, but you were on the men's side, DePaul, right? I mean,
Sure.
they were a big thing in the 80s and 90s, right?
Yeah. When I was on Dell's staff, I tell the story all the time, the coldest I've ever been in my life. We were playing in the NCAA tournament at the old Horizon Arena up in Chicago, and we were playing against the University of California when they had Jason Kidd. Mm-hmm. And Kidd beat us with a shot at the buzzer. I mean, just a heartbreaker. Ended our season. And afterwards, I told Coach, we were our hotel's about 6-7 blocks away. I said, Coach, I'm gonna walk back. Don't look for me on the bus. I just need to clean my head. And I can't tell you how cold it was. I mean, the wind it would just cut you. It was the worst decision I've ever made.
That team, that was Shaq.
No, that was post Shaq. That was Gert Homick.
Okay.
Was the 5 players right after Shaq.
That was Dale's last NCAA team.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, Gert was the guy on that team.
Gert had an outstanding year. He played backup behind Shaq for all those years, and then finally got his opportunity and shine. Was all SEC and first round draft choice.
That's right. Yeah, Gert was always labeled goofy, and then, the guy behind Shaq and all that. But you guys coached him up, and his last year he really came through.
He did. He had a nice soft touch, a little jump hook. Dale ran some good stuff for him with his high-low offense, and that team actually overachieved. A lot of people didn't think that we would go as far as we did after Shaq left.
And I'm here to talk to you about the women, but since we're talking about the men real quick, I can go down the Chris Jackson wormhole on YouTube, and was showing somebody at work the other day his first SEC game at Florida where he scored 53, and he's now, of course, known as Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, but no one since him has been like him. He was, and I didn't see Pistol Pete. I wasn't old enough and whatnot. Different time, different era, but no one's been like CJ.
Well, he was obviously a phenomenally gifted player, but nobody really understands how hard he worked. So when I'm here, Dale's got me staying at Broussard Hall with the players. And we didn't have practice gyms back then. We just had what they call the dungeon, the auxiliary gym. And there's no, finger push button codes or nothing. There was a lock. So my job was I had the key, and any time a player wanted to get in there, in the evening or on the weekends, was my job to open up and let them in. And every night at 10 o'clock, religiously, Coach, you ready? And I would go down, and I've never, ever seen a player before or since that went through an individual workout the way he did. When coaches are always preaching when you work out, you want to take game shots, game spots, game speed. It was unbelievable how hard he worked. And he had such a fluid jump shot with an incredibly quick release. And I say to this day, he still has the best shot fake I've ever seen. And because he could shoot the ball so well, people honored that shot fake. And he was a phenomenal player. He was a phenomenal young man too. Yeah. I really enjoyed being around him.
Real sweet, kind.
Yeah, great teammate, super guy.
Yeah, and he's had some controversial comments and things over the years, but when I met him recently and had a chance to talk to him, I didn't sense, there's no kind of evil in him or anything like that. He's a sweet guy.
No, he's a man. He's a man of his convictions. I think he's a very courageous young man who stood by his religious beliefs at a very difficult time to do that. He basically got round of the NBA at that time because of his beliefs.
Got blackballed.
But he never wavered. He stuck to his convictions. I think that's a really courageous thing.
I used to watch NBA. I think that was the first ever 8 upset the 1. He played for the Nuggets. They beat the Seattle Seahawks, Supersonics, when they used to exist back then. Yeah, well, CJ, tremendous, and you had also a chance, Stanley Roberts and Shaquille O'Neal, to coach those guys. Stanley was more gifted than Shaq in the beginning, right?
Well, he just had a great skill set, really soft hands, and was really fluid around the basket, but could step away from the basket and face up and be effective, where Shaquille was more of a power player. Shaquille grew those things. In the NBA, I thought he had a beautiful little jump hook. I can remember us, and he'll remind me of all the jump hooks we used to shoot after practice to try and help develop that skill set. But both of them together were a pretty unique set. It's a shame that they only played 1 year together.
Right. Stanley had the, it was called Prop 48 at the time.
Correct.
Who did the jump hook? You talking about Stanley or Shaq was working on the jump hook?
Worked with Shaq on his jump hook. Yeah. Stanley came with a skill set.
Yeah. Twin Towers back then, 89-90 team. Probably one of the more fascinating teams in LSU history. Like when you look at them on paper, and maybe the team that you had on paper last year, women's team, should have won a national championship more than the year before. When you had Haley Van Lathan and Nissa Morrow, you got Angel Reese coming back, all these people, but it doesn't go that way.
Well, I would actually disagree. I mean, the thing that we had with our national championship team is we had a true point guard in Lex Morris.
Yeah.
And we had a great anchor at the 5 spot in LaDasia Williams. Yeah. We miss LaDasia Williams so much. Her ability to defend, her ability to finish, but she was a great communicator back there. There are certain things on the floor that a fan may not see, but when you have a 5 player that can sit back and direct your team's defense, that's why we were so good defensively. We obviously Lex on the ball, and we had Angel but the director back there was LaDasia, and we missed that last year, really did.
I think I was talking about LaDasia the other day, and because she didn't have this outgoing, or she wasn't loud and had this big personality, I don't think she maybe got the credit she deserved on that team by some people. We know it.
Sure. I promise you the coaching staff and her teammates know it, but you're 100% correct. We're in an era where numbers speak, and your social media presence can help project you, and all LaDasia did was come to practice every day, and if we needed 10, 15 points from her, fine. If not, fine. We're going to get double-figure rebounds. We're going to get a couple blocks. Like I said, we're going to get the same LaDasia Williams every day. She never had a bad day. I didn't say a bad game. I'm saying a bad day. Every day of practice, we got the same LaDasia.
Yeah, well, good thing for her against Utah, right? Because
she carried us that day. She was a monster.
Carried the day. And Alexis, Kramer Robertson the other day. Alexis Morris's don't grow on trees, right? So the fact on that national championship team, it seemed like she was going to do one of 3 things: get fouled, make both free throws, score herself, or dish to LaDasia or Angel for a bucket. So right now with this team, the point guard spot's been talked about a lot, and you're going into NCAA tournament play where that's really important. So how do you work that whole thing out?
Well, you just continue to push and grind. Had 2 of them in today to watch film. We'll continue to work through some things at practice. Kim is really good at getting a thumb on who is better equipped to help us on that particular game based on the opponent and how they play. So it's probably not ideal that you don't have one point guard established that you can count on for 35 minutes. But at the same time, it could be advantageous that you got 2 or 3 kids there that you can use that have different skill sets.
And look, Poe has had an up and down year this year for different reasons, but is it kind of a case of, hey, that's all over with. That's all history. We know what you could do in this tournament. We know what you did 2 years ago, right, against Caitlin Clark and so forth. I mean, you're important. You can be important moving forward.
Well, the thing about Poe is the experience. She has postseason experience. People forget that before she came here, she won a national championship on the junior college level. So she has had some really good, solid performances and moments when we get to the tournament, and we're hoping we can bank on that again.
Cheyenne gave you some offense the other night against Texas. early in the game and so forth.
I thought she gave some good defense too. Matter of fact, she was in this morning watching film, and she did a nice job on Harmon. And we played Harmon where we wanted to pressure her with the ball when they gave it up. We wanted to dive into the paint, use that person to help, and I thought Shai did a great job of being where she's supposed to be.
Enjoyed visiting with Miracle Shepherd earlier this year. I joked with her she might be the only person ever that's driven from Seattle to Starkville. You know anybody else who's who's done that? When she came and played for Mississippi State for that 1 year. But she's got a good energy, like, you just being around her, bright smile, good personality.
She's got a great energy and is an incredible teammate. The thing I like the most about Miracle is she's always ready. So, she may have played 5 minutes the game before, but it doesn't disrupt her practice or her preparation. So the next day, the next game, you need her for 20 minutes, and you're going to get 20 good minutes out of her. She gave us 2 really, really solid games in the SEC tournament, filling in for Flau'jae, playing a ton of minutes, and was able to score, hit some shots, rebound. She's always going to defend the other player's best player, and she's invaluable to our team, and that really stood out at the SEC tournament.
Gilbert has had big offensive games for you, especially against Tennessee. What about her experience going into the tournament? Well,
the thing you like about KG is she doesn't shy away from taking the big shot. And when you get in the postseason, you need players like that. You alluded to the Tennessee game, but she also hit the game winner against the University of Washington. And she's just had some moments where it might be at the end of the quarter or the end of the game where you can put the ball in your hands, and you know she's going to get a great look. She has a really unique ability to get a shot off in traffic when she needs to.
At the five, so Aaliyah Del Rosario is moving deeper into a career. Jersey Wolfenbarger, I looked at her stats when she played for Arkansas. She took a lot of three-pointers over there. She was out on the perimeter, and now she's thin, and I'm sure she'll, in the offseason, hit the weights a little bit more, right, to play down low. And then Samaya as well. What about the 5 spot?
Well, it's kind of 5 by committee. And Samaya certainly is anchoring that right now. She's been our primary starter. But Jersey's given us some good minutes. I thought Lily played really good against Florida. The thing that makes Aaliyah so important is she has the bulk down there. She has the body that's strong enough to bang with some big people, where Samaya and Jersey are a little bit more quicker and more finesse players. So again, we have different skill sets that we can plug in depending on what we need, but we need consistent play from them. Kim is constantly looking at them and say, you 3 guys total. We need 12 to 15 points. We need 10 to 13 rebounds, and we need 2 or 3 block shots. Not from one of you, just from the committee.
Yeah.
And we've done a decent job of that this year. If you put those 5 players together, their field goal shooting percentage is close to 60%. They're double figures in rebounds, so certainly would help if they would step up a little bit and maybe elevate their game a little bit more as we advance in the postseason.
Michaela, this is what makes women's basketball an advantage maybe over the men's game when it comes to the fan experience. That Michaela Williams plays 4 years here, as opposed to somebody who comes in and is gone in 3 months or whatever. And maybe it's because she's so good that maybe she becomes a victim of expectations too quickly. But just phenomenal player in terms of where she can spot up and shoot from and score from the outside, the inside. Just what's it been like to coach her?
Yeah, it's been special, especially this year. People like to zero in on her ability to score, but I think she's one of the most phenomenal passers I've ever coached. And her defense has improved. And the greatest growth for Michaela, for me, has been her ability to study the game. She's really gotten into film. If when we're playing, I'm gonna get a text or 2 from her as she's watching film. Say, Coach, hey, did you see that they did this? I think we can do that. So she's become very cerebral in her approach to the game, and I think that's what elevated her play. I think she's really played at a very, very high clip this SEC season, especially the latter part. Which is different from last year, because last year, she was bogged down with the stress fracture in her foot and had but this year she has grown so much in the way she views the game. And she's just going to be a phenomenal basketball player beyond her LSU years. I mean, she's got a pro mentality in the way she tackles everything right now.
Yeah. And in high school, I think she was valedictorian.
Yeah, bright kid.
Homecoming queen, too?
Maybe.
Did everything.
Yeah.
Oh, Michaela. And I guess one of the first high school girls to get NIL also. You know, kind of a trendsetter in that regard as well. Flau'jae, what we would always hear about Flau'jae is that no one's harder on Flau'jae than Flau'jae. And sometimes maybe she can get in her own head a little bit when she doesn't play up to the way she thinks. But she, too, kind of like the Chris Jackson story that you just told me, relentless worker, right? Up at 4 or 5 in the morning every day?
She is. She's a big routine person. She has her routines that she gets into, and I think that's what drives her to be as good as she is. She does have very, very high expectations for herself. She is, you know, I think there'll be books written about her just because she's just an outstanding basketball player. She's an outstanding student. She's an outstanding rapper. She's an outstanding entrepreneur. Any one of those singularly by themselves takes an awful lot out of you. Yeah. For her to juggle all of that is just the most amazing thing to me. And to be so good at all of them. It's not like one of them suffers because of the other. You talk about trendsetters. Right there's your trendsetter. I don't. It's hard to understand how she could be so good in all those things and be focused. But she has a great ability to be present. You know, she's 10 toes in. Wherever she's at, that's where she's at. She's not thinking about this thing when she's doing this thing or that thing when she's doing this thing. When she's there, she's there. And that's a really special quality with young people.
You listen to It Ain't My Fault every morning when you wake up or in the gym? Or?
Not every morning, but we do tend to hear it a lot around here.
Well, that's what I joke with somebody. I said, how cool is that? Like, you know, back in our day or whatever, Prince, Michael Jackson, Guns N' Roses, Journey, whatever's playing, but to have like one of the Players' songs playing in the arena as you're warming up, that's pretty cool.
What's really cool is when it's in one of the visiting arenas.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how widespread her music is. I've been fascinated. You know, I certainly listen to her music, but she's kind of ventured out into some rhythm and blues stuff, and that to me that's really cool. It shows growth in her music, and it's probably a little closer to a genre that I can appreciate. And but she is so freaking talented.
So is this like more singing than rapping?
Yeah. And you know, she studies. Mm-hmm. She knows the history of music. She tries to find out why people were successful or not successful, and she understands trends, and she's just not somebody who runs into a studio and cuts some music. I mean, there's a thought and a strategy to everything she does. It's just fascinating to talk to her about it.
Well, I'm curious, once she leaves LSU, is it a case where we know about WNBA and what they pay? We know about Simone going to Russia, right?
Sure.
To have to play and stuff. So is she a WNBA player, and then, hey, I'm going to do 30 tour dates and hit these cities and be paid as an entertainer? I mean, can she draw 300, 400, 500 people per town and do that? I mean, that's going to be interesting to see.
Easy. Yeah. And I think it's wonderful for her. The WNBA salaries have risen. But, you know, to create the wealth that you need, you have to have a side job. And the overseas thing is not it anymore. You know, there's some smaller upstart leagues that are going now, but certainly her music career, you know, she's got some other things on the horizon. I'm probably not able to say right now.
You don't want to break any news, let her break.
But I mean, when you see everything that they have planned, but it will allow her to play in the WNBA as long as she wants, not worry about a small paycheck, because she's going to be able to do some things on the back end.
Yeah, and Kia will be there every step of the way.
And Kia, if we had more parents like Kia, I would enjoy my job a lot more. She's absolutely amazing. obviously you can see the business part of what Kia does, but it's her ability to keep Flau'jae grounded and humble, and to support what we're doing here. She's my hero. I've told her that Kia's an amazing woman.
Yeah, and not to get you in trouble talking about something, but I know when they went to South Carolina and that thing happened with the music and stuff, with the camouflage music and stuff, that was tough for them to kind of grind through.
Well, it was, and it was inappropriate and uncalled for, and I think it's been handled properly.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, in my long career, I have never run a report on a suspended DJ before. that was the first. DJ suspended one game. Other people on this team that I should talk about as we go into the tournament.
Well, Jada, as a freshman, she's grown so much. She's really good defensively. She's one of our better three-point shooters. She's one of those kids who doesn't play much but is always prepared, and got a few more minutes than she has been because of Flau'jae's injury. And we've talked about not just playing her at the point, but playing her at the two, so we can get her a few more minutes. So I think she's really important to us. Amani Bartlett, who doesn't play but is an amazing leader. I mean, if you come to practice every day, you get to see how she impacts our program. Those are all. If you have a really good team, it's just not about some people that score and pass and rebound. There's a lot of hidden components, and Amani's been phenomenal this year. I mean, she's really stepped up with senior leadership and has been able to help a lot of players through difficult times, and we wouldn't be here without her.
Yeah, great. I had a chance to talk to her the other day. I told her, and I wasn't blowing smoke. One of the best interviews I've ever done with an LSU student athlete.
Yeah, you can see her growth. I mean, she's a very confident person when she speaks. She's knowledgeable, and that transfers well to being a leader. Yeah. So you're sitting there having a conversation with her. It's easy for you to step back and say, I can see how she can lead a basketball team.
Well, similar to Emily Ward, right, who didn't play a ton of minutes here, who stepped right in and doing very well with broadcasting and other things she's doing.
Yeah, well, it was a big part of our championship without stepping on the floor hardly at all, because she was an outstanding leader, came to practice, helped us set the standard and create the culture.
Well, when she checked into the game, it felt like the cheers were just as loud for her as anyone else.
She was a fan favorite because of her work in the community and the way she carried herself, and she was a special young lady.
And back to Jada real quick, it's much harder now for a freshman to make an impact with the portal, right?
100%.
I mean, coaches have to win and keep their jobs, and hey, I can't be patient with these freshmen. I need some talent, and so go to the portal and fill the spots that way.
Yeah, and it's not so much the talent quotient, it's the experience.
Yeah.
Because Jada's as talented as any of our point guards. She just doesn't have the experience that a Poa or a Shy have. So her time's going to come. She's going to be a really good player because she preps, she works, she does the unrequired part of it, and her best days are ahead of her as well.
Yeah, I hear that going to signing days a lot of times where, a kid's going to a smaller school and the coach says, well, 10 years ago he'd be going to a better school. Yeah. Because of the portal and other things going on. A few more things. So you're on the staff with Sue Gunner in the early 2000s, recruiting Simone Augustus, right?
Sure.
And I think to this day, like, the biggest female signing I've ever covered, like the anticipation and people around town at the gas station, what's she going to do, and all this, and wearing orange to an extent on her signing day, right? What did Sue say? I'm about to have a heart attack when she stepped out there.
I can't repeat what Coach Gunner said when Simone walked out with that orange sweater.
but chooses LSU. And so here we are, I guess almost a quarter of a century later, and she's got an office right next to yours. So tell me about Simone as a coach. What did she learn in her first year? What is she doing? What do you think her future is there?
Well, the thing about it is, Simone, I'm sure, has learned a lot this year, but we've learned a lot from her. I mean, think about her background. After she played for Coach Gunner, she goes and she plays in the WNBA. She plays for Cheryl Reeves, a Hall of Fame coach. She played on several Olympic teams with Hall of Fame coaches. She went overseas and played. So her background's greater than my background in terms of where she's learned basketball from. So I think that's really important. I think the biggest impact she's had is on our players. Because she's still at that age and our players know who she is, so they have respect for her. So for her ability to either talk to players individually or talk to our team collectively about whatever it is, about whether it's how to defend or what we need to be doing in practice, or what we need to be doing off the court. I mean, they really listen to her. So she's been a great mentor for our team from that standpoint. She's done a lot here. We've thrown her in recruiting wise. She's helped me with some scouting. We've just thrown her right in.
And her attention to detail too. This is just a quick little thing, but we were down in the LSU practice facility the other day, and you had the rack of balls, basketballs, and there was one that all the balls have LSU on them.
Yeah.
And they point out one way. There's only one LSU logo on it, and they were all pointing out. And Grant goes, "Jacques, please go turn that ball around." There was one ball that didn't have the LSU logo out. He said that's a Simone thing. Like, she comes in, she wants all the balls to be lined up perfectly on the rack and have them all facing out LSU. And if she sees that, she's going to be upset.
Well, you'll find the best players are so detail oriented, and that speaks to Simone.
Yeah. Was there clipboard on injured reserve at one point when it got nothing?
The clipboards have taken a few beatings over the years. I mean, coaches and clipboards, that's notorious, isn't it?
Yeah. The clipboard saying it's, to quote Flau'jae, "It ain't my fault." Right?
Well, I broke a few of my time as assistant coach.
It's just it's what you channel it into, right? It's there.
That's exactly right. It's there.
It's a victim of location,
circumstances.
Circumstances. So down the stretch here, Kim Mulkey. So I visited with Karen McCord the other day, who's the mother of Carly McCord, who was a popular media personality here, who unfortunately died in the plane crash going to the LSU-Oklahoma playoff game just over 5 years ago. And just tremendous sweet lady. And she told me, a couple years back, she's like, "I'm one of the few people in the state of Louisiana who didn't know who Kim Mulkey was." And somebody said, "Why don't you come with me to," I think it was maybe the coaches show at TJ Ribs. So she goes, and she says that Kim Mulkey has like a 15-20 minute conversation with her about losing her daughter and how Kim Mulkey, had lost her granddaughter.
Yeah.
When they knew that there was a difficulty when she was pregnant.
Turner syndrome.
They knew that, the syndrome and whatnot. And she said, I just couldn't believe that, a complete stranger or somebody of her magnitude took 20 minutes to talk to me. And she said, "There's a line of people behind me, Coach." She goes, "They can wait. This is important." So of all the things that have been said by the outside, she does have a heart, a big one, and she cares about people.
Yeah, she has a giant heart, and she doesn't necessarily care if that's on display for the general public, but she cares about people deeply, especially Louisiana people. And she has, people always ask me, what's it like working for Coach Mulkey? And I tell him, I didn't know her before I took this job. And what I did know is that she loved defense, she loved post play, and her kids played hard. And their level of execution was high. So I knew she was a good practice coach. Didn't know she was great practice coach, which she's the best I've ever been around. I did some homework, and you look at her staff, and some have been there 15, 20 years with her, so I know she takes care of people. But it wasn't until I joined the staff that I learned two things. First of all, she's got an amazing sense of humor. I mean, we just laugh all the time around here. But she is so devout to family. She's an incredible mother and a grandparent, but she cares about our families. She cares about families. And that's why she made that connection that evening. She could feel that pain, and she was going to make sure that that person knew and had some empathy from her. she's just very, very family oriented.
Yeah. And she wants coaches to have families too.
Oh, one of my favorite memories is we're getting ready. It's the day before we play Iowa for the national championship. And in our big meeting room, I'm there on my laptop, and I'm putting clips together, trying to pull something, looking for that one last little thing. And she is on the floor with about 6 kids and having a good time and playing, and got those kids laughing. And they were the kids of our staff members, which she, bring your kids. She has no, bring your kid to the gym, bring your kid on a road trip. She is committed to family, not just hers, but to ours.
Yeah, that's a Louisiana thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I joke with somebody too. This may sound stupid or whatever, but she's got some Dolly Parton in her, in the fact that they're both blonde, but they're both country, and they kind of played that country thing up a little bit sometimes. But they're both like the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, that's a pretty good observation.
I think Coach Kim has listened to her share of Dolly probably over the years. She likes country, right?
I would think so. You're 100%. There's probably not a topic you couldn't bring up with Kim and not have an educated conversation with her about it.
Yeah.
She's very well read.
And so you've been on the staff with her 2 years now, or this is your third. You're 9-1 in the NCAA tournament with her. And what is it about her as a postseason coach? I mean, what you kind of told me there kind of reminds me of the Super Bowl when Joe Montana's in the huddle and he goes, "Hey, look, there's John Candy in the stands." Yeah. You know, kind of bringing down the pressure and anxiety a little bit. How do you do that and also keep everyone sharp and intense?
It takes an incredible feel, which I don't have, and I haven't been around too many people that do. A lot of our postseason success has to do, however, with the way things go the entire year. I've said this before, her messaging in practice is like nothing I've ever seen. She'll make a comment in November that's designed to make our kids think about the postseason without saying postseason. She'll plant seeds along the way, and then she'll nurture them as the season goes along. And so by the time we get to postseason, we're prepared mentally and emotionally for it. And then she just knows when to push buttons. She knows when when you need to lighten up a team a little bit. You know, my favorite story is the national championship run. She threw the team out of the gym the day before we played Michigan because some of the kids were complaining they were tired. She knew they were tired. Well, we can't say, "We know you're tired, let's take the day off," because then we lose our edge. So she gets upset. So you guys are tired. Well, let's just take the rest of the year off. Y'all just get out of the gym. Threw them out of the gym, turned the lights out, and got the kids their rest, but also got them motivated to come back the next day ready to play. But that's a feel that I've never seen anybody have like she does.
I think Maneri had that kind of thing too, of like ticking the guy off and then hit a home run. Oh, all right, coach, I showed you.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of saying, hey, coach threw us out. Let's show her we're ready.
The best coaches know that every player has a button, but it's a different button.
Yeah.
You know, there's some kids you can challenge, and there's some kid, you know, I used to tell people, you know, I could go up and blast Shaquille, get on him hard, and boom, he would go, but I needed to whisper to Stanley. And she has that unique gift of knowing which button to push on each player and when. And that's why she's a Hall of Fame coach with 4 national championships.
One button is a lift-off button, and one might be a self-destruct button.
Yeah, you better know what button you're pushing.
Stay away from the self-destruct, right? Yeah, and her record, I'm talking to Kramer the other day, and I told him, I said, even losing 2 in a row, at that point, I think her record was 118 over 18.
Yeah.
So 100 games over 500.
Yeah, pretty good. Not bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
And there was a guy like the year before she came who was a big fan. He's like, I'm up in the stands, I'm bored, I count, there's 323 people here. You know. And now, with the crowds you're drawing and whatnot, and I've talked about it, it's not just attendance, it's like event, parade, like people are dressing up, they've got these guys that are 65 wearing glittery jackets and the fat heads and the Mardi Gras beads and everything. It really is an event.
Well, and it's over 500 people in the Fast Break Club. It's our monthly luncheons that have 300 to 400 people. Gosh, there was been some Kim Mulkey dress-up days at local schools, and then beyond. It would be staggering to look the last 3 years at the attendance records we've broken on road games.
Yeah.
I mean, tons of them. And so her impact has not just been to LSU, but to Louisiana and to the game of college basketball, specifically the Southeastern Conference. But there's been some non-conference games where we've broken some attendance records.
And the fans who stay after these games, she's going to come back out. And if there's 5,000 people there, she's going to go down the line and autograph every single one and take selfies with them and so forth.
She's like Skip Burtman. She understands that. And beyond that, she's going to make sure her players come back out
Yes.
and talk and sign autographs. And there's been some times where we may have lost or where we were dead tired, and in her own way, let's go. These people came to see you play. We're going to go out there, we're going to shake some hands, sign some autographs. She understands that making your program accessible is what makes the connection. It's why people love our kids and our coaches, because they get to touch them and talk to them and get to know them, and that's part of her plan.
Yeah. Well, me personally, that's the thing I don't want to see get lost in this new NIL era
Sure.
and so forth. You know, it's the story Rudy, right? I give anything to run out of that tunnel, right? You should sign autographs for kids. You should take time with fans. The second these young athletes start being standoffish and saying, I'm not doing that, we're going to have a problem.
Well, and that comes from leadership. That's never going to happen in the Kim Mulkey program. She's going to create opportunities. Like one of our luncheons was over Christmas break, so she made our entire team come. And the whole luncheon was about them, and then afterwards our team signed whatever the Fast Break Club brought to the luncheon that day. There were basketballs and jerseys and pitchers, but she has a system about doing what she wants to do, and it's just not about winning basketball games. She understands the importance of making your program relevant in a very, very big way. It worked at Baylor, and it's working here, and it's something to see.
You worked here when Nick Saban arrived, correct?
Sure.
You can probably remember people that worked in this building, co-workers, saying, this guy's wearing me out. And I think the words that were said that he despised more than any other were, but we've always done it that way. Can you draw maybe any parallels about, hey, look, Kim Mulkey wants things done. She has an idea. There's going to be some people that may be a little more uncomfortable than they used to be, but hey, we've got a national championship and you never won one before.
Well, the comparison I can make is she's very driven. She wants things done one way, and that's the best they can be. Doesn't matter if it's the product we're putting on the floor, if we're putting on a banquet, if we're having a summer camp. She wants every detail, every single part of it done to the best of our ability, and she will hold us accountable. We have all gotten our butts chewed out when we didn't do our job the way that she felt it needed to be done. And so I certainly think there's some comparisons to Coach Saban there in a very, very positive way.
Yeah, and that's a whole other conversation about how men are viewed as opposed to women.
That is another conversation.
And in the women's game too, hey, look, they push and shove, they fight sometimes.
But it's big news when we do it, though. Like if we have a little scuffle, people talk about for a month. When you go to the men's game, there's a scuffle every night. So, but it's part of the growth of our game. You know, the cool thing about our game now is they're talking about it. It's become relevant. It's important. It's growing on all levels, and that's a really cool thing to say. And when you look back 50 years from now, Kim Mulkey will be a big reason for that.
Yeah, and they trash talk too.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah, the players.
Yeah, yeah. I went down a big Larry Bird wormhole on YouTube the other day. The stories of Larry Bird, how he would trash talk and say
The best.
Yeah,
he was the best. I'm going to go to the corner. I'm going to take 2 dribbles and I'm going to bank it, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's crazy.
Yeah. You ever heard the movie Billy Jack?
Oh sure, I'm old enough. My
My dad would always, what's the quote? I'm going to take my right foot, put it on your left cheek and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, same kind of thing. Yeah, I just laughed at those Larry Bird stories, and the guys would say, people said he was slow and he couldn't jump and this and that, and I called him. I said, look, this guy can play. Yeah. He's wearing everybody out.
The best thing about those things that you're looking at, though, are the players. The players. You know, you have these new players that really don't know how good Bird was, so they have conversations with the old players. No, man, Bird was the guy, man. Bird was the guy.
He was something. All right, let's finish here. So, Coach Mulkey wants you to be in the Hall of Fame, and I talked to you before. You know, in terms of music, you always want to be the drummer. You didn't want to be the front man. You want to be out front. You don't want to be Mick Jagger or Stevie Nicks or whatever. But and you've always maintained that. What was it? It's like, I don't want to do press conferences. I don't want to. Or
there's some I don't wantas in there, but you know, since we're quoting movies, there's a great Clint Eastwood quote. A man's got to know his limitations, and I really feel like the best thing I do is break down tape and scout and teach and develop players, and I think that's what I do best. And I think from time to time you'll see assistant coaches that aren't ready or prepared to take head coaching jobs, and it doesn't work out. I've been blessed to work for some great head coaches, so. That's helped extend my tenure, and it couldn't be any better now. This is it for me. You know, LSU's my last stop. I'm gonna retire here down the road, and I'm getting to do it working for Kim Mulkey. So there's some things that I don't enjoy, and the head coaching. That there used to be like 10 hats, and now there's like 25. You know, NIL, you know, also the fundraising part is huge. The speaking part is, the media is much larger now, the responsibilities. So there's a lot of stuff that the head coach does that a normal fan doesn't realize. Normal fan thinks she comes to work and writes up a practice plan, practices and coaches. And I'm telling you, basketball's probably 20% of what Coach Mulkey gets to do on a daily basis. And I just want to do the basketball part for the most part.
Yeah, it's just a little bit like being a sports director now. You know, anchoring is just like 20th on the list of everything else. Who's going where? What we got to cover today? Yeah. So anyway, well, appreciate it. Always great talking to you. I guess I could keep talking forever, but got to get going here, and this guy's got work to do. So thanks for stopping by today, and we will see you later.